two families, same disaster warning, same resources, but 3 days into a blackout, one is thriving inside their home while the other is desperate in the streets, begging for help. What made the difference? It wasn't luck, money, or a massive bunker. It was knowing the 80-20 rule of survival. In this video, you're going to discover why 80% of your survival success comes from just 20% of your preparations, and more importantly, which 20% actually matters when everything falls apart. By the end, you'll know exactly what to focus on and what's just wasting your time and money. Welcome to Essential Pantry, where we cut through the noise and give you practical survival knowledge that actually works. If you're ready to prep smarter, not harder, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss life-saving content like this. Let's talk about something most preppers get completely wrong. They're drowning in gear lists, bug-out guides, and tactical toys, but only a tiny fraction of this stuff will actually keep them alive. The 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle, tells us that roughly 80% of your survival outcome will come from just 20% of your preparedness efforts. The problem is, most people are wasting their money, time, and energy on the wrong 80%. So what's the critical 20% that actually matters? Let's start with gear, because this is where people blow the most money on useless stuff. When you walk into a prepper store or scroll through survival websites, everything looks essential. Shiny knives, tactical pants with a dozen pockets, fancy gadgets that promise to solve every problem. But here's the hard truth. In a real emergency, your survival doesn't depend on owning a dozen knives or the latest catalog gadgets. It depends on 5 core gear pillars. And if you get these right, you're already ahead of 90% of preppers out there. First, water filtration. No piece of gear is more vital than a tested, gravity-fed water filter like a Berkey or a Lexapure, plus some portable options like a LifeStraw or Sawyer Mini. But here's the key. You need to practice using these with dirty, real-world water sources before you're forced to trust them in a crisis. Don't wait until the grid is down to figure out how your filter works. Second, fire making. You need redundant, reliable fire starters, lighters, waterproof matches, cotton balls with petroleum jelly. And just like with water, you need to practice. Starting a fire with dry twigs and a lighter on a sunny afternoon is one thing. Doing it with wet wood, freezing hands, and minimal tools is completely different. Fire gives you cooking, heat, water purification, and psychological safety. Master this skill in bad conditions, not just good ones. Third, lighting. A blackout quickly blinds you, and suddenly a simple task becomes impossible or dangerous. Headlamps, flashlights, lanterns, even chemical light sticks can turn a terrifying night into a manageable one. Rechargeable batteries and solar chargers extend your options when you're off-grid for weeks, not just days. Fourth, cutting tools. A dependable fixed-blade knife and a quality multi-tool solve most of your cutting, opening, and fixing tasks, from building shelter to preparing food. Don't get seduced by flashy, oversized blades. Choose robust, real-world tested models that you can actually rely on. And fifth, and this one surprises people, clothing for climate protection. Shelter isn't just 4 walls, it's layered clothing that regulates your temperature and protects you from the elements. High-quality base layers, waterproof gear, gloves, and hats will save your life when the temperature drops. They're worth more than all the survival bracelets and accessories combined. These 5 pillars are your 20%. Everything else risks being dead weight or a distraction. Test each item. Make sure you can use it seamlessly when you're stressed, tired, and scared. Now, here's where most preppers completely fail. They're gear-rich but skill-poor. All that fancy equipment means nothing if you freeze under pressure or forget how to use it. In survival, skills aren't non-negotiable. Let's break down the essential survival skills that form your critical 20%. Starting fires in all conditions is first. We already talked about having the gear, but can you actually do it when everything is working against you? Wet wood, freezing hands, high winds, these are the conditions where your fire-making skill either saves you or fails you. Experiment and practice in adverse conditions to build true competency, not just fair weather confidence. Water sourcing and purification goes beyond just using a filter. You need to know how to find water and make it safe through multiple methods. Harvest rainwater, dig seeps, improvise with whatever containers you can find in different climates. When the faucets go dry, familiarity with these techniques trumps theoretical knowledge every single time. Basic first aid and trauma care is absolutely critical. We're not talking about band-aids here. You need to know CPR, how to stop major bleeding, splint broken bones, treat burns, and properly apply a tourniquet. Take actual courses, not just YouTube videos, and keep medical guides handy. In a crisis, you become the medic whether you're ready or not. Navigation without technology is another skill that separates prepared people from lost ones. Practice using maps, compasses, and reading natural language.
Both urban and rural evacuation routes require this flexibility when GPS is down and all your digital aids are worthless. And finally, situational awareness. This is the soft skill that most people completely overlook. The ability to read a room, spot tension, and anticipate threats can prevent you from walking into danger or becoming a target in the first place. Pay attention to what's happening around you, trust your instincts, and act on warning signs before it's too late. Here's why skills matter more than gear. They last a lifetime, they require no batteries, and they can't be stolen from you. Focus on building these capabilities and turn practice into a regular routine, not something you'll do someday. But even if you have all the right gear and all the right skills, there's one thing that can still destroy you: your own mind. All the equipment and physical abilities in the world mean nothing if your mindset fails when you need it most. In high-stress situations, your biggest enemy is often yourself. Panic, confusion, indecision, and the desperate hope that things will just go back to normal. Let's talk about the 20% of mindset work that will carry you through 80% of crisis situations. First, stress inoculation. You need to make discomfort part of your life right now, before disaster hits. Go on rainy camping trips with minimal equipment. Try 24-hour fasts. Navigate crowds under pressure. Practice adversity so your brain stays functional when it actually counts. If the first time you experience real discomfort is during a crisis, you're already behind. Second, decision-making under duress. Create and rehearse if-then scenarios. What do you do if there's a fire, if someone's injured, if you need to evacuate in 10 minutes? Drilling logic and planning into your automatic responses transforms paralysis into action when crisis strikes. Third, emotional control and structure. Fear spreads quickly, especially in families and groups. Learn to control your breathing, narrate your actions aloud to stay calm, and establish routines. Structured mornings, regular meals, and watch rotations provide islands of normalcy in chaos. These simple rhythms keep people from falling apart. Fourth, and this is the hardest one, detachment from normal. The biggest mental shift you'll face is abandoning the hope that the old world will snap back into place. The longer you cling to that false hope, the longer you delay the adaptations that will actually keep you alive. Accept the new reality quickly, and your survival odds improve dramatically. Fifth, purpose and motivation. Identify your why: family, faith, a sense of duty, whatever drives you at your core. Purpose fortifies you through hardship and gives meaning to discipline during bleak moments. When everything seems hopeless, your why is what keeps you going. Mental discipline is the multiplier for every other skill and resource you have. Most people fail here, quietly, long before their gear or food runs out. Master your mind and you've already won half the battle. Now let's talk about food and water, because this is another area where people completely overcomplicate things. Most pantries are filled with snacks, treats, and short shelf life goods that won't help you in an actual survival situation. What matters isn't variety or gourmet options. It's high-calorie, long-lasting basics that require minimal water and energy to prepare. For water, you need to store at least 1 gallon per person per day for a minimum of 2 weeks. That's your baseline. But you can't stop there. Supplement your stored water with the ability to collect from rain, creeks, or other natural sources and have simple, reliable purification methods ready, filters and boiling setups that you've already tested. For food, focus on ingredients that are high-calorie, require little fuel or water to prepare, and don't easily spoil. Rice, oats, lentils, canned beans and proteins, peanut butter, powdered milk, and pasta. These aren't exciting, but they'll keep you alive. Add spices, bouillon, and multivitamins to maintain morale and fill nutritional gaps. And here's something most people ignore. You need to know how to cook without power. Practice using camp stoves, rocket stoves, or solar ovens. Regularly simulate power outages by preparing meals and boiling water only with your emergency equipment. This builds confidence and reveals problems with your setup before it's too late. One more critical point about food storage: rotate your supplies. Swap stored goods into your daily meals and restock every 6 months. Nothing should sit in your emergency stash past its expiration date. Fresh supplies mean reliable supplies when you actually need them. Simplicity prevents paralysis and increases reliability. Get these basics right and you buy yourself crucial time to plan and act during a crisis instead of scrambling to survive day to day. Let's shift to power, because this is where people waste enormous resources chasing comfort instead of prioritizing survival. Off-grid power is about keeping you alive first, not replicating your modern lifestyle. A refrigerator or air conditioner devours energy that could be better spent on things that truly matter when the grid is down for weeks or months. So what are the actual survival power priorities? First,
if anyone in your household relies on a CPAP machine, refrigerated insulin, or other life-critical equipment, your power system exists first and foremost to serve these needs. Everything else comes second. Second, communications. A solar or crank radio for weather updates and disaster information is essential. Staying informed means making better decisions and avoiding danger before it finds you. Third, lighting. Efficient LED lanterns, flashlights, and even solar garden lights are low-power, high-impact assets that keep you functional at night without draining your batteries. And don't forget blackout curtains. They protect your privacy and deter unwanted attention from people who'll notice you're the only house with lights on. Fourth, microclimate devices. USB-powered fans for heat or heating pads for cold add immense comfort and capability, especially for vulnerable family members like young children or elderly relatives. These small devices can make the difference between tolerating a crisis and suffering through it. Fifth, renewable recharge systems. Relying on the grid or gas generators is dangerous for multiple reasons. Generators are loud, need constant fuel, and attract attention. Solar panels with battery storage are silent, renewable, and far less likely to make you a target. Here's the test that reveals whether your power setup actually works. Run it for 72 hours straight, right now, while everything's fine. See what breaks, what drains too fast, what you forgot. This simulation will show you exactly how to allocate your limited energy for maximum survival effect. Now we need to talk about something that goes against the classic survival fantasy, but it's absolutely critical: community. Despite what movies and TV shows tell you, the lone wolf dies first in real-world collapses. Isolation breeds exhaustion and vulnerability. Small, trusted teams build resilience and dramatically improve your odds of survival. But here's the key: it's quality over quantity. 2 or 3 reliable, calm, morally aligned partners beat a large, untested group every single time. Small teams are agile, make decisions faster, and are far less likely to be compromised by panic or infighting. The most important thing about building your survival core is doing it before disaster strikes. You can't form these relationships when everything's falling apart. Even modest connections matter. Teaching a neighbor first aid, swapping tools, having casual conversations. These small interactions lay the groundwork for mutual aid when it really counts. Think both local and digital for your networks. Face-to-face bonds with people in your immediate area are crucial, but secure messaging apps and even mesh radios can connect you with people across town who can coordinate supplies, share information, and provide backup when you need it. Community does more than protect you from external threats. It reduces panic, shares the burden of decision-making, and lightens responsibilities like guard rotations and childcare. When you're exhausted and scared, having people you trust to lean on is the difference between holding it together and falling apart. Community isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a fundamental survival requirement that stabilizes your mind and your situation. So you've got your gear, your skills, your mindset, your supplies, your power, and your community. Now you need a plan. But here's where most preppers go completely off the rails. The near universal prepping trap is trying to plan for every conceivable event: EMPs, solar flares, pandemics, economic collapse, alien invasions, zombie apocalypses. The problem is, reality rewards clarity and flexibility, not encyclopedic plans that collapse on their first real-world test. Let's talk about effective survival planning that focuses on the 20% that covers 80% of actual scenarios. First, focus on likely events. Most real emergencies fall into just 5 categories: natural disasters, infrastructure failures, civil unrest, economic shocks, and medical emergencies. If your plans target these, you've covered the vast majority of what you'll actually face. Stop Stop obsessing over Hollywood scenarios. Second, build capability over event-specific plans. Instead of asking, what if there's an earthquake versus a hurricane versus a blackout, ask yourself, do I have water for 2 weeks, calories that don't require cooking, the ability to leave in 10 minutes or hunker down for 10 days? These are universal needs that apply across almost every emergency. Third, keep your plans simple and actionable. One-page checklists, 3-day loadout guides, neighborhood maps with marked routes, and clear bug-out protocols outperform thick binders full of untested theory. When you're stressed and scared, you need something you can follow without thinking, not a manual you have to study. Fourth, build in redundancy but avoid excess. Have backup methods for water, shelter, and communication if your first option fails, but don't fall into the trap of collecting unnecessary duplicates of the same item. 2 is 1, 1 is none, but 20 is just hoarding. Fifth, run regular drills and tests. Conduct blackout weekends where you only use your stored gear and supplies. Do bug-out simulations where you pack and leave in the time you've allotted. Practice exposes gaps in your planning and builds the muscle memory and confidence you'll need.
Sixth, evolve your plans as things change. Your household composition, health needs, and local threats won't stay the same forever. Update your essentials regularly to maintain agility and relevance. A plan that worked 5 years ago might be completely inadequate now. Efficient planning means less time spent worrying, more time acting, and fewer surprises when everything hits the fan. Here's something every seasoned prepper eventually learns through hard experience. The stuff that actually saves you is rarely the stuff you expected. It's the old beat-up radio that outlasted all the newer, flashier models. The multi-use tarp that proved more valuable than a whole shelf of specialized gadgets. The skill of staying calm while everyone else panicked, which prevented you from making a fatal mistake. Just as important are the lessons about what didn't help. The fancy survival shovel that sat unused because it was too heavy or awkward. The specialty knife that looked tactical but proved impractical. The communication tech that only complicated your routines instead of simplifying them. The key insight that survivors keep coming back to is this: the simplicity, reliability, and depth of your core resources, that critical 20%, are what carry you when everything else fails. Over-preparation can be just as dangerous as under-preparation if it dilutes your focus or weighs you down with stuff you don't actually need. This is why the 80-20 rule isn't just about efficiency, it's about survival itself. Remember, when crisis strikes, only that critical 20% of your preparations will carry you through. Focus on proven gear, practiced skills, mental resilience, essential food and water, smart power use, trusted community, and realistic planning. Everything else is just noise that distracts you from what matters. Start streamlining your preps today while you still have time. Go through your gear and ask yourself honestly, will this actually save my life, or did I just buy it because it looked cool? Practice your skills in bad conditions, not just good ones. Build those relationships with neighbors and friends before you desperately need them. If this video helped you see what really matters in survival preparation, hit that like button and subscribe to Essential Pantry for more no-nonsense survival wisdom. Drop a comment below and tell us, what's one thing you're cutting from your prep list after watching this? We'd love to hear what you're learning. The difference between surviving and thriving isn't how much you have, it's knowing what actually matters. Stay prepared, stay focused, and we'll see you in the next